Adam, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Roni.
Tell me, I said, you said?
Yes, well, 𝐼𝑆aid-𝑢𝑆aid.com is our startup, and yesterday we won the startup clash.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. We're a family business, and we were just commenting last night that we are running out of space because we won the Queensland AI Award in 24. Then we won the Australian AI Award for Legal Service AI Innovation. And now we've got this. So it's been a wild ride, I got to tell you.
And tell me, what are the awards for? What does I said, you said actually do?
So we specialize in an area of AI called sentiment analytics. Now, sentiment analytics is not a very popular or glamorous part of AI. It doesn't write your briefs for you. You know, it's not going to write a haiku about your favorite fishing spot. But what it does is you can train it to find certain behaviors in text, in audio, and in video. So if you've got a corpus of training data that represents a particular behavior or a particular sentiment, which is why we call it sentiment analytics, then you can run that into your training model, and your model essentially learns how to spot that, even if it doesn't present the same. So if you think about people dealing with financial abuse, which is a very, very common thing in family law, by taking several hundred examples of financial abuse and training them into a sentiment analytics model, you can then run that over all your emails, all your recorded conversations, all your videos, and it'll just flag everywhere it sees it for a lawyer to come and look at later. Now, we have 70 odd behaviors now, both negative and positive behaviors, because it's very important to show both sides. We have that in text, in recorded audio, and in video. And what that does is just stops family lawyers from having to read absolutely everything, because we just ran the Vicarious Trauma Survey of family lawyers, and we ran that across 5 countries. And quite frankly, there's really concerning stuff in there. So, like, there's stuff that I read as a data analyst that I find hard not to internalize. 16% of family lawyers have had 11 or more physiological breakdowns in the last year. That's involuntarily bursting into tears, feeling like they're going to throw up. That's uncontrollable shaking. And it's all coming from a combination of reading very toxic emails, watching very confronting videos, and trying to do it in a way that they think is doing justice to their client. And so what we're saying at 𝐼𝑆aid-𝑢𝑆aid.com is, if you've got 10 years of correspondence, which is 16,000 messages, it's not mathematically possible.
Yeah, sure.
It's just not. So we have to have another way to do that. If we don't find another way to do that, we're just going to keep breaking people. And we know 𝐼𝑆aid-𝑢𝑆aid.com does it.
Yeah, and I can see how passionate, obviously, you feel and how taxing it is.
Yeah. So look, the reality is, so I come from healthcare as a software engineer. The boss, my wife, our DV experts, I'm usually the guy that leaves the room. Because obviously we have to evaluate this stuff. Our DV expert, she's our director of engagement. She runs a child contact center in Brisbane. I'm probably the worst person to interview because I'm a programmer. I'm the tech guy. I'm the data guy. And so I'm not built psychologically to deal with this stuff. So it does impact me. But, you know, hopefully we'll get to a stage where the AI just does it all and it doesn't impact anyone. Because it is confronting. It is confronting. I've talked to a lot of these lawyers. Yep. I consider them close associates. They've certainly confided in us. You know, they trust us, and it's shocking stuff. It's shocking.
But in terms of it's very purposeful, what you're doing, and very meaningful. Yeah. In terms of your run rate, and what does good look like in, say, 5 years' time? Let's be aspirational now.
Yeah, okay. So 5 years, you want aspirational. Our goal is to fix the broken family law system and end domestic violence and do it everywhere. That's our goal. So that's kind of aspirational, because we think, you know, family law gets a lot of bad attention, but if you look at the legislation, it's fine. It's good legislation. If you look at the people, these are good people with high levels of qualifications, many with multiple advanced degrees. So what's the problem? What's causing the problem? As an engineer, that's what gets me out of bed. What's the variable that's causing everything else? Yeah. And we think the variable is the level of evidence. And so that's why we targeted that. So we think it's very possible with a good technology to make sort of family law a real force for good. Because 50% of people go through divorce. It affects everyone.
Yeah.
If not you, your brother, your sister, your friend. So we really think we can bring that back on track. Obviously, we can do, so we work with law enforcement as well. We can do domestic violence investigations in minutes instead of months. And obviously timed intervention is important.
Yeah.
We can expose when there's no evidence very quickly. So, you know, the reality is that sometimes that happens. Bringing clarity to that whole space, what looks good for us in 5 years is we've made a significant dent in fixing family law and ending domestic violence. Now, it just happens to be a $9 billion market globally. We're in 5 different languages at the moment. It happens to be a very lucrative market. I apologize. I fell in love with our CEO. I was doing a piece to camera for a competition a little while ago, and Lizzie kept crying in the last 10 seconds. It had to be 1 minute. And I remember my wife, who was our CEO, she turned to me and she just said, "We don't pretend."
It's as genuine as you
can. And Lizzie jumped in, and the first take, it was done. So guess what? So this is Lizzie, by the way. The CEO's just off camera over there. Look, we like to say that when Lizzie grows up, when our son grows up, Jacob's downstairs, we want them to talk about domestic violence like you and I talk about Victorian era child labour. So those are the goals. Look, it's a big market. 2% of a $9 billion market, even if we do badly, 2% still a lot of money. Be great.
And where are you based? You said 5 other countries.
Yeah, so we're Brisbane. We've got clients throughout Australia, New Zealand. We've got clients in America. Claire's from Brazil, so she's heading over there. We've got a presence in Brazil. We're bringing on clients there. And we've got UK's just starting now as well. So we're in 5 languages, which covers half the world's population.
And what's your ideal client at the moment?
Look, family law is where we think we can do the most of value. And it doesn't really matter if they're a solo shop or a multinational or a conglomerate. The reality is from the data we now have, it doesn't matter how many staff they have, their staff are still struggling. And we were in a meeting with a law enforcement, it's one of the state's law enforcement the other day. And they kept on saying, "Oh, this is really difficult to do these kind of investigations. We're struggling." And I had to keep saying to them, "Stop, you're not struggling. It's not difficult. It's mathematically impossible." And so that's what we want to get across to every lawyer out there is, like I said on stage yesterday, it's time we said the quiet part out loud, that manual review of family law evidence is not possible. It's not possible. It's not that you're not doing a good job. It's not that if you work harder, it's going to be possible. It's that 16,000 messages, which is what a 10-year relationship has, would take 32 weeks to do even badly. To do it well would take more than 32 weeks. So what we're trying to get across is we can come in, we can surface the needles, we can get rid of the hay, and then you go and review the needles, you go and do your case strategy, all of that, but we can get rid of. So I'm a physicist by trade, and we used to talk about signal to noise ratio. So it's a real geeky thing, but anytime you want to change the world, you look for a way to change a signal to noise ratio. And that's the problem we have here in family law. There's so much, can you bring me back some bread? Can you get some eggs from the store? Even amongst people that are fighting and saying fairly horrible things, those horrible, I don't want to be judgmental, sorry, fairly confronting things, those confronting things are buried in amongst the daily messaging. So we remove, you take that to mama. It's very important. You take that over to mama. She's on board. So we want everyone to at least trial us. We do first case free. We're disbursement costs. We're disbursement costs. So there's no sign up or anything. You got a case to go in. We push into 𝗂𝐿 at the moment after you do analysis. If you've got 𝗂𝐿, we're working on leap and smoke ball right now. So everyone goes into a lawyer's office, most everyone, and says, "Oh, my divorce is probably going to be okay." And they never are. So if we can raise flags about high conflict and domestic violence within hours of engaging a client, that's a meaningful risk pathway for every family law practitioner to say, okay, well, look, this is high conflict. I'm already at my 10 hours a week, which is the safety zone that we've found from our study. I'm already at my 10 hours a week. Maybe we need to allocate this somewhere else. Or this is DV. Okay, I need to think about my lighthouse protocols. I need to think about, is this client even safe to go home right now? Are they safe to leave? Sorry. I never thought I'd be in this type of industry, and I'm not built for it. I'm just not built for it. So I'm a data guy. This stuff is really distressing, but we press on because we have a good idea. We're doing good things. So they can know within hours whether that person's safe to go home or whether they actually have to go straight to a police station. They can get an AVO or a DVO, as we call them in Queensland, at the click of a button.
Yeah.
So desirable and necessary is the benchmark in most states. You saw the graphs yesterday.
Yeah.
If you can show
Yeah.
that the negative behaviours are escalating, there's not a judge in the world that won't grant that.
Yeah.
You know, that's desirable and necessary right there. So to be able to click a button and get an AVO, that's every family lawyer. It is. So we do first case free because we're just really confident.
And I love your passion. And as a mentor for the Women's Resilience Centre, I know that a lot of those instances, you know, they end in death and they end in catastrophic, devastating circumstances. So what you're actually doing is impacting so many different parts of the dynamic, which is, I don't want to say refreshing, because, you know, every lawyer and every practitioner is trying to change the world in a better way. But what you're doing is groundbreaking.
Yeah.
Is revolutionary.
One politician, I won't name because they say this stuff, no one wants to wade into this particular discussion, but one of them said this is, what did she say? This is world changing for women's safety or something.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
But it's not just a safety thing, it's across the board. This is the perfect engineer problem, which is why I'm, you know, obviously I'm not built for this. I'm just not built for it. I wouldn't have sorted it out otherwise, but it's the perfect data problem. As an engineer, you wait your whole life to see something that you can solve with software, which is not a lot of things. Life is very complex and a few things you can solve with software. Something that you can solve with software that's going to make a meaningful impact. And we've found it here that if we can, and we do now with great, incredible accuracy, we can find the evidence needed on all sides. And our dream is that once everyone knows what's going on in a relationship, firstly, we think that part of the problem of family law is the very first thing you do is say to both parties, go back and relive the last 10 years of fights. I mean, that's horrible. I can imagine doing that. So that starts people off at a really rough place to start off with. But if we can just make it all about data, then hopefully we can turn it all down a little bit.
Yeah, take the emotion out.
Exactly. We can get more settling than going to trial. We can take a bit of that burden off the family law. And when there is a problem, when intervention's needed, we can do that really quick. And we can do it without placing a huge burden on law enforcement and the lawyers. We can do it in a way that survives the most intense cross-examination, because we all know that data has no character. You can't character assassinate some data. You know, you can't go to a piece of data and target who they are as data. So, you know, it's one of the reasons as an engineer I love data. Data just says, this is how it is. And I think that family law needs that, desperately needs that. I really do.
I could talk to you all day. I think what you're doing is very well done on the awards.
Thank you.
Much deserved. And
I can't.
Anyone can get in contact with you.
𝐼saidYou-said.com. Go there. So if you're a lawyer, go there. There's a link to a vicarious trauma survey. Please fill it out. We're trying to understand that part of family law, which is really important. Go down, send us an email. There's a contact form there.
Right.
Free trial. Jump on, check it out. The only thing is, I will say, it's not just me. I'm just the data guy. I just ended up sitting here. My wife is the powerhouse. She's the CEO. She's the wise one. I'm kind of smart when it comes to the data. She's the wisdom of the organization. Vicky, who has been in the DV space for 27 years. Everyone else is, you know, we've got, let's go. It's not just me. We've got a whole team of people who saw what the vision Claire and I had of a data-based family law world and a data-based domestic violence world, investigation world, and said, I'm going to leave my career that I've spent my life building, very senior people on very good wages. I'm going to come and do this. So, I'm sitting here, but it's not just me.
But it takes a village. And I wish you all the best. And
Thank you so much.
No, pleasure is all mine. Thank you.